it's kind of.
Let's.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Okay, so I have to tell you this story about a girl who was looking for an apartment, and this literally happened like last month. So she doesn't have like really good credit or whatever, so she really needed to find an apartment that would accept her. So she's on Craigslist looking for this apartment. She finds this guy, and he was said to be affiliated with this big name realty company. I can't remember the name of the realty company, but all his paperwork said this realty company names. Like, he had the pen, and he was legit showing her apartments. Like, he had the keys to this apartment. They were going in, and he was showing these apartments off. So she finally clicked on one, and it's this amazing apartment. It's like 3-bedroom, hardwood floors, 2 stories, a deck. Like, I'm telling you, it was just an amazing place for like $900. Like, and it's, which is amazing for, especially for the area. Also, it was in a good neighborhood. So she goes back to his place to sign the documents or whatever, to get the place and to also pay her deposit. Now, I don't know why she didn't think, why are we going back to your place? Like, shouldn't we be going to your realty company? So she fills out the paperwork, she signs the lease, and she gives her deposit. She gives a $600 deposit, which is still really small for this amazing apartment. Like, usually when you get a nice apartment like my apartment, you have to pay double. You'll pay the first month rent and a deposit, and the deposit is equivalent to the first month's rent, but she only has to pay $600. So she leaves, she's happy, she got this new place, and she was supposed to call back the next day to get the keys. So she didn't call him, she called the realty company, like, that's on the like business cards or whatnot. So she calls them. She was like, yeah, I was just calling to see if I could pick up my keys. And they was like, what's your name? And so she says her name, and they was like, well, what apartment is it? So she says the apartment. They was like, well, we have that apartment, and it is available, but we don't have you down. And she was like, well, I, filled out the paperwork and everything with so-and-so guy, with the guy that, and he works for you guys. And he showed me the place. I gave him my deposit, and I have the lease. Like, I have a copy of the lease. And he's like, he was fired about 3 months ago. You're the 6th person that he's done that to, where he's taking their money, and then the next day, then he disappears off the face of the earth. Yes.
Oh, that's awful.
No.
That is shameful.
Not even done. So then...
Okay.
No, you're fine. No, this is so she's black. Just throw that out there. So you know how black people, they always have that cousin or that brother who's probably done time. They ain't scared of nobody. So she calls those up. And the black community, we call that our pookies. So she calls up her pookie. And so she tells him what happened or whatever, and come to find out, a friend of hers actually owns that building where she went and saw the apartment. So he was like, I don't want you to mess up the building, but I will give you the key to go in on them, just so you won't have to bust in the door. But you just can't tell them that I gave you the key. So she gets the key, gives it to her pookie. They go to the place, and the dude's there sitting eating some soup and crackers. So they just grab him and like rough him up. They don't hit him or anything, but they like hold him up and was like, "You're gonna give her money back." So the guy is like so scared, like he's freaking out. So he's like, "I promise, I'll give her the money back. I'll have a check for her tomorrow." So Pookie goes back, tells the girl, it was like, "Yeah, he said he'll have your money tomorrow. He didn't have that much money on him, but he'll have it for you tomorrow." So the next day, she gets the check from the guy. Check doesn't go through. So what happens? Pookie gotta go back over there and hold up the guy again. But this time, Like, they don't leave until he get the money. Like, they ride over to the bank with him. He gets the money out, and then they give it to her. And so then she calls the apartment place, and the amount that he told her was like $500 less than what it really should have been. $500 less a month at that. So, but they still offer her at the price that he said, since she had to go through so much. But they don't know about Pookie and them though.
Taking advantage of her, that was very shameful.
No, definitely. I think that's what she shouldn't have went by herself. And you don't go to creepers' houses either. Like, that's just weird. But yeah. So always have a Pookie in your family if you don't.
Really? That is true. That is awful. Very shameful. People are looking and really serious to try to take advantage of people. And people are just innocent, and it's very sad.
Yeah, especially when you don't have the credit, so you feel like you have to settle for any and everybody. And usually if it sounds too good to be true, then it usually is. And in this case it was.
Really, I read this. Craigslist. Okay. So I was looking on Craigslist for a roommate. And it sounded pleasant. It was a person who had an article. This roommate she was really mean. And it wasn't a nice roommate. They used to throw their clothes all over the place. So I went to go meet this roommate. And I went to go look at the roommate's apartment. And it was a really odd situation. So that's how I met my roommate. So it was a really bad experience for finding a roommate. Okay, so I was looking on Craigslist and I was trying to find me a roommate, but I'm not really too fond of finding people who are strangers. I prefer somebody that's a friend that I know very well. So I found someone. I found a friend of mine who is an interpreter, and her brother needed a roommate. So I've had an available room in my apartment, and my interpreter brother needed a roommate, so I figured that he could move into my apartment. So his job, he really loves music. So I didn't think nothing of it. I'm deaf. So every night, I made a mistake. Every night, his friends would come over and they would always just play music, play this guitar, and it would be very loud. And they would have these big speakers in the apartment, and my dog ears would go down because of the loud record noise. So my friend probably thought it was nothing because I'm deaf. So my roommate and his friends would just continue to play their music and beat their drums. So later, weeks and weeks go by. I felt offensive because my roommate thought I stole all of his things, and I don't touch his things. So we had an argument. So I told my friend, the interpreter, that I had anything to do with that. That's between him and his friends. I have any business with that. So I just told my friend to have her, that her brother had to move out of my apartment. So I realized that I must know the person who will be my roommate also.
Especially, you never know, like, perfect. Oh.